For almost 80 years, Harrington Global had been one of the country's most respected manufacturing companies. Founded by Victoria Harrington's grandfather after the Second World War, the business had grown from a small machine shop into an international corporation employing thousands of people. Its reputation wasn't built only on profits. It was built on trust. Employees often worked there for decades. Entire families built their lives around the company. Victoria had grown up walking through factory floors with her grandfather. He knew nearly every employee by name. Whenever she asked why he spent so much time talking to workers instead of investors, he always smiled. Buildings don't build companies. People do. Those words stayed with Victoria long after his passing. Years later, she became CEO. She worked tirelessly to honor his legacy. But even the strongest companies face storms. A global economic downturn, rising production costs, and one disastrous acquisition placed Harrington Global under tremendous financial pressure. Within months, lenders demanded immediate repayment of massive loans. Hostile investors began buying company shares. Financial news channels predicted bankruptcy almost every evening. Victoria refused to abandon the business her family had built. She met with investors, negotiated with banks, sold unnecessary assets. Nothing created enough time. During an emergency board meeting, the company's oldest legal advisor quietly placed a weathered leather folder on the conference table. This has remained sealed for nearly 40 years. Victoria looked confused. What is it? Your grandfather's final instructions. Inside the folder rested an old trust agreement. One unusual clause immediately caught everyone's attention. If the company ever faced a hostile takeover that threatened employee ownership, temporary voting control could transfer through a family succession provision activated only after the CEO legally married. The purpose wasn't romance. It was protection. Victoria stared at the document. He really believed something like this might happen? The lawyer nodded. He believed that desperate times sometimes require unusual solutions. She leaned back in disbelief. So you're suggesting I marry someone? To save the company? No. I'm suggesting you decide whether preserving your grandfather's life's work is worth making a personal sacrifice. The meeting ended without a decision. That evening, reporters surrounded Victoria outside headquarters. Is the company being sold? Are layoffs coming? She quietly entered her car without answering. Instead of driving home, she asked her driver to stop near the old downtown district. She wanted silence. She wandered unfamiliar streets until she noticed a warm light shining through the windows of a small, independent bookstore. A wooden sign above the entrance read, Carter's Books. Inside, the smell of old paper and fresh coffee immediately made the world feel quieter. A little girl sat on the floor arranging children's books into colorful stacks. Behind the counter stood a man repairing the spine of an old novel with remarkable care. He looked up and smiled. Welcome. Take your time. There was no recognition in his voice. No excitement. No nervousness about meeting a CEO. He simply treated her like every other customer. His name was Daniel Carter. After losing his wife 5 years earlier, Daniel had inherited the bookstore she had always dreamed of owning. Friends encouraged him to sell it. Bookstores weren't profitable anymore. Daniel refused. My wife believed stories change lives. I'm keeping that dream alive. Every morning before opening, he walked his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, to school. Every afternoon she helped organize books while Daniel served customers. Money was often tight, but laughter wasn't. Victoria wandered through the shelves for almost an hour. For the first time in months, no one asked about stock prices or corporate strategy. No one expected decisions affecting thousands of employees. She simply became another person browsing books. Lily eventually approached holding a well-loved children's novel. This was my mom's favorite. Victoria smiled gently. It looks special. Lily nodded. Dad reads it whenever one of us has a hard day. Victoria quietly accepted the book. As she reached for her wallet to purchase it, her expression changed. She had left her purse inside the office. I'm sorry. I forgot my wallet. Daniel smiled. That's all right. You can bring it back another day. She shook her head. I couldn't. Daniel carefully placed the book inside a paper bag. Then consider it a gift. Victoria looked surprised. It's valuable. Daniel shrugged. Some things become more valuable after they're shared. She thanked him sincerely. Outside the bookstore, she paused before getting into her car. It had been months since anyone had shown her simple kindness without expecting something in return. Over the following weeks, she kept finding reasons to visit Carter's books. Sometimes she bought novels. Sometimes she brought pastries for Lily. Sometimes she simply sat in the reading corner with a cup of coffee while Daniel recommended books. Neither of them discussed careers. Victoria never mentioned the struggling corporation she led. Daniel never asked. To him, she was simply a thoughtful woman who seemed to enjoy quiet afternoons among books. One evening, after closing time, Lily smiled at Victoria. "I wish you lived closer. You make Dad laugh more." Daniel looked embarrassed. "Lily," Victoria laughed softly. "It's all right. I like hearing him laugh too." Neither of them realized that within days, a decision made in a corporate boardroom would bring Victoria back to the bookstore. Not as a customer, but with a proposal so unexpected that it would change all three of their lives forever. 3 days later, a black sedan stopped outside Carter's Books just before opening time. Daniel looked through the front window and recognized Victoria stepping onto the sidewalk. She wasn't carrying a novel or a cup of coffee. Instead, she held a leather folder in both hands. Her expression was serious. After Lily left for school, Victoria quietly sat across from Daniel in the little reading corner. "I need to ask you something." Daniel smiled. "You sound nervous." "I am." She took a deep breath. "My company is in trouble." She explained everything. The financial crisis. The family trust. The unusual clause requiring her to marry in order to protect the voting shares from a hostile takeover. Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he remained silent for several moments. "So, you're asking me to marry you?" Victoria nodded. "Only if you're willing. I won't pressure you. There would be a legal agreement. No expectations. When the company is stable again, we could quietly end the arrangement." Daniel looked out the bookstore window. "I've never imagined getting married again." "Neither have I." He thought about Sarah, about Lily, about the promises he had made after losing his wife. Finally, he asked the most important question. "If this saves the company, how many people keep their jobs?" Victoria answered honestly. "Nearly 12,000. Daniel nodded slowly. "Then let me talk to Lily." That evening, Daniel gently explained the situation to his daughter. Lily listened carefully. When he finished, she asked only one question. "Is Miss Victoria a kind person?" Daniel smiled. "Yes. Very." Lily nodded. "Then kindness is a good place to start." A week later, they were quietly married in a small civil ceremony attended only by a few close friends and the company's attorney. There were no reporters, no grand celebration, no elaborate promises beyond treating one another with honesty and respect. The news became public only after the legal documents protecting Harrington Global were finalized. Financial markets reacted positively. The hostile takeover attempt quickly collapsed. The company survived. At first, Daniel and Lily remained in the bookstore while Victoria continued living in her family home. Their arrangement was practical rather than romantic. Yet life had a way of changing carefully written plans. Victoria began joining them for dinner after work. She helped Lily with school science projects. Daniel noticed that she smiled far more in the bookstore than she ever did in board meetings. One rainy Saturday, the roof above the children's reading room began leaking. Without hesitation, Victoria removed her expensive jacket, grabbed a bucket, and helped Daniel move hundreds of books away from the dripping water. Lily laughed. "You don't look much like a CEO." Victoria smiled. "Good." That evening, while eating homemade soup around Daniel's kitchen table, Victoria quietly admitted something. "I don't remember the last time I felt at home." Daniel looked at her kindly. "You don't have to earn a place here. You already have one." Months turned into a year. Their friendship slowly became something deeper, not because of the marriage contract, but because of countless ordinary moments. Morning coffee, school concerts, bookstore customers, quiet conversations after Lily had gone to bed. One afternoon, the company's lawyers arrived with good news. The trust no longer requires the marriage. The company is financially secure. The agreement can now be dissolved whenever you wish. After they left, neither Daniel nor Victoria spoke. Finally, Daniel smiled. "So, what would you like to do?" Victoria laughed softly. "I was hoping you'd ask." She reached across the table and took his hand. "I don't want to end a marriage that stopped feeling temporary a long time ago." Daniel smiled. "I was thinking exactly the same thing." Years later, Harrington Global became stronger than ever. Victoria often credited the turnaround to disciplined leadership and dedicated employees. But privately, she knew something else had saved her. Not just a legal clause, a family. During the grand reopening of Carter's books after a major renovation funded by the company's charitable foundation, Lily stood before the gathered crowd. "When people hear how my dad and Victoria got married," she said, "they think it started as a business deal." She smiled at them both. "They're wrong. It started with kindness in a little bookstore." People remembered the story because a CEO married a poor single dad to save her company. But those who knew the whole story understood that the real surprise wasn't the marriage itself. It was that two people who expected only a practical arrangement discovered trust, friendship, and love through everyday acts of compassion. Sometimes the strongest relationships aren't built by perfect plans. They grow one quiet, ordinary day at a time.